Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Quantum Witch Cafe. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we just decided to start. Artemis keeps breaking her tripod, I think, but she will fix it. Oh, there she is, and
I'm
she's
back.
back. So tonight is a very fun night. It's not UAP centered. It is going to be centered on spiritual matters, spirits, ghosts, paranormal activity. And we have obviously my lovely co-host Artemis, and then my lovely best friend sister Crystal Corl, and with the Visitation podcast. She is a criminologist and a medium. So if you haven't listened to her podcast, it's like two of the best things: spirits and true crime. And then we're waiting on one more person, but we can get started. So first of all, first line of business. What's everybody drinking tonight?
Oktoberfest. It's actually Jake's, but
Oh,
the Steiner
Is,
Bock.
is it like a beer?
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
It's a beer. I was drinking Cabernet yesterday, but I drank way too much of it. Hi, Nikki.
Nice.
Hey guys.
all right. So we have Nikki as well. We already showed what we were drinking. Nikki, are you having a cocktail tonight, or are you keeping the?
Water.
You're being a good girl. So Nikki does regular readings, and she often she keeps her body very clean. So she's great at what she does. So we'll kind of go in the circle. You already know about Artemis and I just thought it would be a fun way to kick off October, because everybody is having strange visitations right now. The energy is different. People are seeing spirits that don't normally see spirits. A lot of intense paranormal activity. So you might be visiting an area where it's not that active and you feel safe, and then all of a sudden fall comes and the veil changes and the energy shifts, and you're getting knocks in your door, or you see somebody out of the corner of your eye. You might have friends and relatives visiting you from the other side. So to kind of just talk about all this in general, we have my two medium friends. I dabble in mediumship, but I'm more like the alien, extraterrestrial consciousness thing. And I use a medium still. The medium for the medium, my medium is cards, but they use their bodies to channel and other things as well. So I'm going to kind of go to Crystal. Crystal, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got started in mediumship and what your podcast is about?
Yeah, so I want to correct that because I have just noticed a misspelling. I was such in a hurry, and I noticed that my handle's misspelled, and it's been driving me crazy. So it's the visitation. There's an I before the T. Yeah. So how I got started as a medium? Well, I guess when I was 3, I guess I noticed that I was very different because I would see things that no one in my friends would see. It all happened when I was little. I remember a visit with my great grandfather. I had never met him. He died about 5 years before I was born. And he was basically my, guardian angel. And I got to see heaven. I freaked everybody out. I got baptized twice because come from a very heavy Mexican Catholic family. It's like, oh my God, she's seeing things. So I got
I'm laughing because I get it.
I actually had my child home cleansed more than once because I would see spirits in the house. And I didn't know that there was an old lady that died in the house. And my mom would freak out, and she'd be like, what lady are you seeing? And I thought it was one of my aunts. But long story short, that's when I realized that I was capable of seeing spirits. So how I got into criminology and how I progressed into true crime. I went to college. I wanted to become a news reporter that uncovered, unsolved cases. Ever since I was little, I remember getting captivated with a John Benet Ramsey case. John Benet is about a year younger than I am. And I remember seeing her story on 2020 after Christmas. And I had said, I'm going to solve your case one day. I don't know what made me say that, but I was just like, I'm going to solve it. And so I actually went to journalism school. I went that direction, and I realized that there was no such thing as an undercover journalist. So I was like, well, that sucks. So I started to go into that realm anyway, become an investigative journalist. I paved my way that way. And I went undercover and did all that fun stuff. And then I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go back to where I wanted to go that direction. So then I became, I decided to challenge myself and become a criminologist. And now basically I graduated with honors on top of my class because I had to make sure that if I ever went to a police station or I talked to a detective, I can't just say like, there's a loony bin and come in and talking to me. I'm very educated and I'm a criminologist. So I got my specialty is in human behavior. So specifically, I understand what makes a person tick. I think like a criminal in some ways, especially to how they murder their victims. I can tell a little bit more about a crime scene based on the blood splatters and the weapon that was used. On top
We've
of
got a hot Dexter female here. Does anybody remember that show?
yeah. And so on top of that, I decided that if I can already see dead people, why not help them? So that's what I kind of combined it, criminology and true crime together, because I have to teach, like my podcast, I have to kind of teach people what I see. I'm married to a Virgo, and Virgos are all about everything is you're supposed to have a physical hand. So I have to treat cases like how I would teach a Virgo. And I say that
she's Gemini.
Yeah, I'm a Gemini, and my husband's a Virgo. And I have to make sure that I make sense and I can back up my evidence with my visions. So that's basically it. All in a nutshell, my podcast, I kind of investigate unsolved criminal cases that happened in my home state in Texas. And then my last episode, I got to use a spirit box, and that was really exciting. It freaked out my husband, but it was so exciting because it was so great to hear them come through the phone. And Nikki and I, we were talking that it's so weird to see them with our, like, in our real eyes. It's weird as it sounds. Usually I like to see them in my mind if I'm not that ready for them. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's how everything got started. And then that's when I met Pricilla, and Pricilla introduced me to Nikki, and Pricilla has been basically my big sister in coaching me.
Yeah. Every time she wants to curse somebody, I talk her off the ledge. I'm just kidding, guys, but seriously. So Crystal and I actually met online. So and we had our own business last year, Spiritual Teachings. It was called Crystal and Stone. We taught some classes. We sold some cool meditation kits, and then COVID hit, crystal prices went up, and we were like, now what do we do? And then we just kind of like gradually started doing our own thing kind of in weight. So it was a very organic thing for us to kind of like, you know, go like different ways.
Yeah.
But Nikki's actually the only person I met in person in Alaska. She was my neighbor. And I was like doing my secret practice. I wasn't completely out of the broom closet yet. And she was kind of just like, she's always had these gifts, but she was just kind of like getting into it more, I guess. So we kind of like, I leave Alaska, she leaves Alaska. And then did we connect over the ET situation?
Yeah, I had like
Okay. So I'm going to have Nikki tell you a little bit about herself. You know, same thing. How did you get started in this? You know, what are you doing now? How did you get there?
So basically what, so I've had these gifts pretty much all my life, but I really had no idea. I am Native American. We're very spiritual. And from my family, we were always taught to kind of fear that side. Like it was very fear-based, some of the things that they had taught me. And so I thought I was seeing ghosts and dark entities, but come to find out I was actually seeing spirit because I wasn't seeing them here in the physical world. It was just weird. I actually thought it was my imagination when I would see things. I would see like old ladies and like medicine men and things like that. So and it wasn't until I got in my 20s when I realized that I felt like I had this gift to connect to them, but I just had no direction at all. And so that's how it kind of started. I had this reading with a medium, and she really just kind of opened my eyes to what exactly mediumship was and how you can communicate with spirit like in a very loving way, because I was always taught to fear them. I'm like, no, I shouldn't connect with them because they may do this or they may say this. And so the reading that I had with her, it was really amazing. Like, I just had no idea that people could have these sorts of gifts and could really communicate with spirit in such like a successful way and get details and things like that. She knew like the name of my aunt and just her how she died and things like that. And it just blew my mind. And I was like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I felt like I had this calling. And then last year, fast forward to last year during lockdown, I was in school, and I wasn't even sure what I was wanting to study. And it was like right in the middle of lockdown. I was trying to study my curriculum and nothing retained. And this is just crazy because I still think about this to this day. I'm like asking my guides, like, why am I not retaining this information anymore? And they were like, well, you feel like you're learning curriculum for a world that will soon no longer exist. And I was like, instantly knew. I was like, okay, that just means something. And I know that I'm supposed to move forward without this. So I dropped out of school. I quit my barista job. And I enrolled into a 6-week course. I took Monica the Medium's 6-week beginner's guide to mediumship course, and it was great. It was fantastic. I loved her. She was so kind. She was so sweet. And she really gave me the basics. And from there, I was like, I knew instantly after that course that this is what I was supposed to do. So that's how I started. And almost immediately after the course, I started doing photo readings. And after that first month, I started giving like in-person readings or FaceTime readings. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So, yeah, I love what I do. It's literally, I feel like I'm finally doing something that I love, and I don't even consider it work because it is just my joy and my passion. Do you know what I mean? So that's how I got started, and yeah, I love it.
That's very cool. So you also have the goal of helping missing Indigenous people, right? That have gone missing. A lot of Indigenous people still go missing to this very day. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've it's not my area of expertise, and I do plan on taking some sort of course to kind of help me with certain cases, like that, because it can be very intense when you're channeling a soul who passed so tragically, and it is a little intimidating. I have tried twice before, and specifically with a young girl who went missing in Montana. I started channeling her. I just felt like I needed to. I was on Facebook scrolling through some posts, and all of a sudden I saw this post with this little girl named Arden, and I felt drawn to her for some reason. I don't know. I just stopped and I was like, okay, I'm going to see what I can get from her. And I was starting to get a lot of specifics. And so I reached out to the family, talked with the mother, and she was able to validate some of those things. She's still currently missing. And so I tried to channel her, I think twice after that. And I had to step back because I don't think that I was necessarily ready for some of the things that she was going to tell me. And I actually started to feel that I was like grieving this little girl. And I don't know this little girl. When you start to get emotional in your readings, it's kind of like a big no-no. So I ended up stepping back from it, and I'm like, okay, so maybe it's not my time, but I know in the future, if I ever get that chance to take some sort of course or just, some guidance or some sort of mentor to help me, then I definitely want to continue doing that. Yeah.
Super cool. So Artemis has had a paranormal experience. And I think I know what it is, but if you want to tell us and kind of get Crystal and Nikki's opinion on it as well, because they are practicing mediums. Like, I have the gift, but I don't mess with it. Human spirits are, around, but I don't interact with them because I'm like trying to sleep or something. But they're taking on a big, energetic load, helping these spirits. So I'm basically just being lazy spiritually, I guess. But yeah, do you want to tell your cool story? Maybe it wasn't cool for you, but do you want to tell your story and then kind of get, Nikki and Crystal's take on it?
Yeah, I mean, so it was in my
Can you pull your mic up?
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi. Yeah, it was in the last house that I lived in. Um, well, like one day my daughter she fell asleep just outside her room. Long story. But she was outside her room, and so I wanted to record her because I thought it was really cute and funny. Uh, and I recorded her, and when I played the video back, like just rewatching it, there was like really creepy like sounds coming there that was not happening in person. But around like the same time, I had started to see like um, kind of just like a vision of like this like man who I felt was like in the house. I don't know. And I have had like a Reiki session done like as if around that time as well to see kind of what's been going on with me. And I was told that I do have like some kind of like spirit guides around me a lot, and that I have some kind of higher knowing or sense, but I don't know how to tap into that if that even is something that I have. But
absolutely.
I do keep seeing like, or I did keep seeing like that same man, or like it was just like a very vivid like picture of him,
Yes.
as if like I had seen like a picture of him.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, it was, and ever since then, like I also feel a lot of times like somebody's like touching me, or like even today, just like a few hours ago, I thought it was Josh, but I felt some like a hand on my stomach or
Oh, so
something
that's
for a minute.
recent. That's like within the past.
That was just within a few hours, but um I keep feeling that like somebody's like touching me. It's really weird. And I asked like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and it wasn't him. But I do get that a lot as well. And then yeah, like touching or feeling like I can see somebody, and then you turn around and there's like no one there, which is like a weird feeling too.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah.
Well, I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of it is going to be heightened right now, but it sounds like you're definitely clairvoyant, because you're seeing stuff, right, guys? Uh, you obviously have the gift if it keeps coming with you. And what happens with Reiki is it unblocks chakras sometimes. So then you get that flow from like both like the earth and sky. So I know I did that backwards, but earth and sky. So you can definitely develop those. What do you guys think of that? Since she's getting these experiences, and so was that your first experience?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been into that, but I don't know if I definitely wouldn't have had like an experience that like was traumatic or anything because I'd remember it. Whether I've seen that kind of stuff as a kid, like probably, possibly, but I'm not totally sure. I was always afraid of the dark, if that accounts for anything. Too many scary movies, I think, but yeah.
So what do you two think about that? Like, what do you think she's going through? And is it something that she can enhance or learn how to control?
Yeah, so I definitely think that you are clairvoyant because I see spirit. Did you see it like in the physical, or did you see it like within your mind's eye?
In my mind's eye, it was like a picture of him. It was like I could still picture the picture of him. It's like it's very vivid.
Okay. Was it like an older man? Did you get a sense of?
Yeah. Like an older African American man. He had like this like hat on, like those like grandpa kind of style hats, like that they all wear. Like even my own dad like already wears those kind of hats.
The grandpa hat.
Like it's totally a grandpa hat, like you just Anyway, like I think like a tan coat, plaid shirt. I want to say I don't see his whole body though, but if I had to guess, it would be like brown pants. But I don't think I can see to his feet.
Too, right, Nikki? The fact that she kind of like, well, I think it's brown pants, but for some reason, she's getting that impression.
Yeah.
Would you consider that like an information from the spirit?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah, because sometimes they'll show you specific, and sometimes when I see spirit, sometimes it's in color and sometimes it's not. It's one of those, I don't know, I can't explain it. But yeah, definitely that could be yeah, they're maybe his way of trying to get you to see at the time of his passing. Maybe he died at that age, or maybe this is a time where
So, yeah. So one other thing, the person who lived before us, I found out he passed away, not in the house. I think he was ill. Um, and I'm like 99.9% sure he's African American as well. So I was like really tripped out. The fact that where's my house? The fact that I'm pretty sure I'm seeing like that man somehow. I don't know.
so is
It's
this is in your house right now?
my last house. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely sounds like he could have been connected. Like this is yeah, he definitely, I feel like he could have been that particular building that you were in, whatever, the house or whatever. But we
Yeah, but then the things like in this new house like do still happen. But I didn't bring I remember talking to Priscilla before I moved and like I didn't bring anything that was originally at least not that like not on purpose anyway, but I didn't bring anything from like the old house that was originally from the old house. But I guess you just never know.
yeah.
So about like houses that like when we move, I like houses have energy. So that house that you just moved in has the original owner or like the owner's energy. So it's always best that you always cleanse and literally clean. So you can, because all that's going to be residual. And
I'll
it's not
send you the sage with your little sock and cup package. It just sounds really weird. I'll throw some sage in there for you.
Nice. Okay, sounds
For
good.
the residual
Yeah.
energy you think she's picking up.
Yeah.
Would residual energy kind of like touch you? Or if you were like a clairsentient person, could you just be feeling like the events? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you know, I guess it just we'll have to wait and see if anything else happens in her place, right?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like when spirit connects with me, if they want to bring me to a certain part of my body, like sometimes I'll literally, like if it's like breast cancer, I'll literally go like this. So if you're feeling like a hand like on your stomach, that could be their way of saying like I died something of like the stomach, liver, kidneys or intestines or whatever. Like that could be their way of trying to communicate something about their body, or the way that they passed, because that's happened to me before. So, but the next thing that you can do, feel like you want to communicate with them, first off, just ask yourself if this entity feels like dark or light or scary or loving. So that way, you know, you can start to trust, you know, what certain energies feel like. And if it feels loving, then most likely it's going to be like one of your family members or somebody connected to the home or somebody that, you know, that you live with. You have a boyfriend? It could be boyfriends, loved ones, departed loved ones. So that would be like the first step. And don't be afraid to communicate with them, because that's what spirit's there to do. They're very loving and they're very, very willing to help us with whatever it is that we're going through. And so there's no need to be afraid of it unless it feels scary. Do you know what I mean? So that'll be the start.
So Crystal, what do you recommend, I guess, for kind of like amping up these gifts? So say she wants to, you know, tap in and actually start communicating more. And if she is clairvoyant and she starts seeing more and more things because she's acknowledging the things around her. And I find that when you start acknowledging something around you, you're going to see more of it because you've almost made that, you brought your frequency to that. So what did you suggest that she do to sort of like safely enhance these gifts? But she didn't say it felt bad or scary. So just enhance the gifts in general.
So what I
would
There's
also a question in the audience. Can we enhance these gifts?
Yeah. So what I would do, so what I had my gifts as a kid, and then I just like basically shut them down all through college. So what I would do, and then I was trying to re-enhance them again. I would work with like crystals. I don't know if you're into crystals, but I would always carry a hematite with me to keep me grounded. And then I would also carry either a tiger's eye and a smoky quartz is the one that you recommended me when we first met, Pricilla. Smoky quartz protects you because as a clairvoyant, we're also empaths. And they are
Yeah.
going to start coming immediately, and it's going to feel like a rush, and you're going to freak out because you're not just going to see one, you're going to see all. And basically there's going to be like a portal that's going to open, and then just all of it, you know, is going to rush. It's funny though, because Pricilla and I, we teach that. We used to teach people how to open their gifts. And it's going to be exciting. You're going to have that thrill, and it's also going to be very scary. But once you start getting used to it, and you start becoming grounded, it's going to get easier, and then you'll learn how to control it.
Yeah, I'm actually starting like a mini series on my TikTok on how to work with your clairs, and I'm actually going to take a piece of jewelry from a thrift shop or somebody that's deceased that and I'm going to post it and say, kind of do like clairvoyance. Do you see anything? And then the next one will be like a mini tutorial, like, because that's an exercise in itself. You know what I mean?
I used to do that when I was a kid. I didn't know that like what I was doing was tapping in. So what I used to love to do as a kid is I used to grab old stuff, and I would like get transport it to like another time. And I was basically like in that area and just in another dimension, and I loved it, but I didn't realize people couldn't do that. And that's when I realized that I was different. But I always loved that exercise. I always love to go to thrift stores. I want an old house. Priscilla knows that, because I want a spirit in my house that will just keep my husband and my kids in check.
So you brought up other dimensions, and I have my own theories on this, and you know, everybody learns differently, and we're also taught by like our experiences differently. We're taught by our guides differently. So people sometimes think of, you know, the spiritual dimension or the other side being like up, but in my experience, we're kind of like embedded in all these dimensions, and it's right here all the time. Is that how you guys see it, or do you see it differently?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
So, you know, a lot of people think of heaven and the other side being like up in heaven, like, like a directional up. And I've kind of been shown and taught, you know, through many people that we are actually like in like it's hard to say because like, I'm clairvoyant, so I get images. So I'm trying to explain it. Like it's next to us and within our dimension. Like it's kind of like woven through. There's really not an up or down once you get to that level of dimension. So where is the other side, I guess, is the question.
So what I usually see is that it's like there are different kind of layers, and Nikki had said it too, and I felt like that was a confirmation for me, because I always thought there's like levels, and I've always felt like heaven was up, and then there's different levels of hell too. So I always felt like there was this, you know, we're just a mass in the middle. But that's like how my guides show me. And I always, my guide, I know who my guide is, and he's basically the gatekeeper, but I work with him a lot, and he always showed me like the different levels when I went to my Akasha records. So.
What about you, Nikki?
It's one of those questions, I don't know, this is a question that I've been going over for the past few months. And I wasn't sure if heaven existed outside of space and time. Because in a few of my mediumship courses, I was taught that, you know, when we connect to spirit, we raise our vibration and spirit lowers theirs, and we meet somewhere in the fifth dimension. So I'm like, okay, does that mean that spirit literally exists up in these higher dimensions? So it's one of those things that I wish I had the answer to, and I'm still trying to figure out what it is. But I do know that there are levels to heaven, and if you can think of these levels like a rank at all, it's basically just your soul's evolution. And
do you think that people see levels? Do you think that it's showed to them as levels because the frequency is like either higher or lower?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to our first question, because this is actually a very interesting question, and it's from Curious George. I'd like to know if spirits are aware of alien, UFO, or cryptid presence in their environment. I totally think it's possible, and I think a lot of cryptids are interdimensional. And I mean, I don't see why not. Like, I don't think that I've ever asked a spirit that, though. How about you guys?
I don't think I've ever asked them that. I don't.
It's a cool question.
Know how I feel about UFOs, so.
Oh yeah, Crystal doesn't mess around with that.
No.
I don't mess around with human spirits. She doesn't mess around with you.
No. After Nikki's guy, I was like, nope, no more.
She sounded hot. She saw You saw one of Nikki's spirit guides, which is a interdimensional or an extraterrestrial, and he was blue.
Yeah.
Unless it was a girl, then she sounded hot. But anyway. So we'll have to ask next time, Curious George. Well, if by the way, you'll be doing some mediumship thing, and you'll be like at the end of it, "Hey, hang around. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What about UFOs and cryptids?" What, Artemis, do you have any other questions right now?
I guess not. Well, I don't know. I guess what's a good place to start? Like if you are interested in this like topic and kind of getting like tapping in, like where do you start?
Oh my gosh, where do you start? I remember
I know it's
I
like
started having
yeah.
my spiritual awakening like all over again. I was stationed in San Diego, and I went to a bookstore, and I was like, what do I do? So I totally know what you mean. And Pricilla and I, we actually had like a list on like how to get people started, like kind of like a startup. There are books that I can't think of top of my head that like I'm sure she can recommend. I loved Amanda Lynette Meter. I'm going to give a shout out because she was my mentor and she was also Priscilla's mentor too. She gives great advice. You can look at her website. She is a spirit woman on Instagram and she provides all beginners. And you can take some of her classes that are like e-courses that are $7.
Yeah, they're not overly priced. A lot of people charge like insane amounts, and you have to
Yeah.
use, funds you don't want to use. But
Yeah,
she's
she
very
is
affordable,
the real
real.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Okay.
definitely real. She's super down to earth. And if you message her, if you have questions, she helps you guide. So definitely my best recommendation is go check out Amanda Lynette Meter's website and she will definitely help you.
I actually have contacted her about interviewing her in the future. She said yes on Instagram, but hasn't answered the email. So we'll see.
I feel like people are so much quicker to respond on socials than emails these days.
They are, yeah. I'm gonna be like,
Jeez.
check your email, Amanda, because I want to get you on the show. I think I'd like to have her in November because that's it's still like a window of spiritual activity. Like, because they have like the traditions in Mexico, Day of the Dead, and other places have traditions around this time too. So like, and I tell people like last year shit did not go back to normal. Like that veil did not snap back like it normally did. Like it stayed like, and I think it has to do with people kind of like becoming more open to things that were once considered extraordinary or paranormal or just not real. So that's just my own take. So we have another question. Actually, you didn't answer Artemis's question, Nikki. So
okay. Artemis, did you
sorry? Yeah.
Oh, so she asked like kind of like how do you? Oh, go ahead. You ask your question.
Yeah. Do you meditate?
I do. I do find it hard to shut off sometimes, though. Yeah.
Who aren't like regular meditators, I would definitely look into. You can always start off slow, but definitely look into guided meditations. And I would definitely look starting to work with your spirit guide. Super important. Starting any sort of spiritual work that you want their guidance, and basically think of these spirit guides as non-physical entities that exist in heaven, that help you with whatever it is in your life that you need help with. They're just there to guide you along your earth journey. So you want to be introduced to, if you haven't already done this, you want to be introduced to your main spirit guide. Everybody has one main spirit guide from birth. Okay. And then you also have other spirit guides that are going to come in and out of your life for whatever you need help with. You can even have a spirit guide for like working with crystals or oils or connecting to interdimensionals, whatever, like with relationships, with schoolwork and work, whatever it is. So start with being introduced to your main spirit guide. And then I always tell people, like, if they're wanting to get into or open themselves up to spirituality, find something that interests you, because there's like a million ways that you can go, whether you're working with crystals or you're looking into energy healing, whatever it may be. Just find one thing that interests you first and then start there. Start off small and then just work your way up. But yeah, definitely look into guided meditations, because that was super helpful for me when I first started meditating, because I didn't know how to do it. I don't know, it's just one of those things where like if you're not you're not used to, it may be hard for you to sit still. You know, even if you're having a hard time stay awake, you can always do things like mantras, which is kind of like saying things slowly during meditation, and it kind of helps you keep awake. You can always meditate while you're walking or spending time in nature, whatever it is that kind of quiets your mind and helps you kind of like go within and center. So I would start there.
Yeah, it's crazy that I tell that people like they're like, oh, I can't meditate, I'm too busy. I mean, I was the same way. Like I have ADHD, so like I just had to try, but I would get these things where I would just like get super mad while I was meditating. Like if I was doing a guided meditation, I'm like, this shit's taking forever. Like, you know what I mean? So you can break through that, but if you're more of like an active brain person, there's definitely like it's strange to think about because people usually visualize meditation like just sitting there, but the walking meditations like in nature are actually I do that as a meditation because it'll ground you and it'll get you in contact with, you know, the realm around you, like trees and all that stuff. So I know that sounds super hippie like, but the
no, not at all. I love going for walks. Yeah, for sure.
So we have a question from Carolina. It says, Pricilla, but you're all going to answer. What would you say to someone who doesn't know what a modern witch does? The stigma of witch is horrible, right? It's like some hunchback old woman with like a, you know, hook nose. And most witches I meet are not like that at all. So maybe there was some like that, but it's just the whole stigma thing. Like a modern witch to me is kind of like everything you do, you kind of infuse with what people would call magic. And to me, that's just like infusing energy or tapping into the quantum realm. Because to me, I really think that magic is just manipulating the quantum realm and energy around you. So if everything, like when you're cooking, every ingredient has like a magical purpose or a benefit, both health-wise and vibrationally, you know, you can come into union with these plant spirits, even if you're going to cook them and eat them. So just literally, I would say just the modern witch is eclectic. She borrows from different cultures and different traditions, which some people frown on. But I think that's what I'm seeing more in modern witches. And then also intentional doing of things. Like you set an intention before doing stuff. And it's actually a lot more simpler than traditional Wicca or traditional witchcraft, where you have to cast a circle and do all this stuff before you work magic. So I don't think a lot of people, you know, that's what they envision, somebody in a circle. But like modern witchcraft, everyday witchcraft is actually like you wouldn't even know somebody's doing it. So what are you guys? So Crystal's a witch. Nikki, do you consider yourself a witch or are you just witchy?
I'm just witchy. I'm not super into witchcraft. I would like to be, but I just haven't had the time to. I have performed like a few small spells here and there, but nothing to the extent like you and Crystal. But to me, like I feel like a modern witch is basically like a master manifester, somebody who has the ability to manipulate certain energies to create some sort of outcome. So that's what that is to me. And like I said, I don't know a whole lot about a witchcraft. So I mean, I feel like I definitely want to learn more, but work in progress.
Okay, so Crystal, you want to give your take on that, or you're just like, yep, to all that, or?
Well, my kids still go to that church preschool.
Well, that's another weird thing. There's Christian witches too, guys. Like, don't tell the Christians that, but there is.
Don't tell my children's teachers that
right.
I'm a witch. They'll be the first one to cast a stone at me. Sometimes I'll joke and I'd be like, God, it's hot in here because the AC went out. And my husband was like, it's because you're a witch. Because I'll be like, oh God, it's hot. No, yeah, I guess everything that you just said, I'm all about everything that I do has intent. Even if I'm upset, I have to remember that I can manifest situations based on even my, I have really bad ADHD and anxiety and OCD. So I'm all the great things. But if I get really amped up over something, I can manifest it and without even realizing that I'm able to do that. So I always have to make sure that I'm kind of like stable, like I don't get overworked, because if I do, then it's just going to be a shit show. And And I love being a modern witch. I love being, a medium. I feel that it's an empowerment. The word witch itself used to be a horrible phrase that was kind of an insult to a lot of women. And sometimes when someone's like, "Oh, you're a witch," I'm like, "Yes, I am. I have a big broomstick, like I have a big ass broomstick made of like basically a tree branch and some feathers and pine needles, and basically wrapped into one and making like a broom." So I'm, like I said, I love nature. I'm trying to adopt a cat outside. I'm all about like embracing our, what we have. I don't believe there's only one religion. I feel like everything's all adapted into like different types of religion. So yeah, that's all I have to really much say about that.
Yeah, the broom is actually very protective. Like I have one in my kitchen,
And I also have like a rosemary little plant in the front of my door, because that actually keeps negative energy away. And I have a spell that seals my house during this time of month, even every other month. But because I have spirits that come in my house during this time of month until the end of November. Currently, I'm seeing spirits. My husband saw one. My kids are seeing one. I have one that constantly hides away from me. So yeah, sometimes weird stuff will just happen during work sessions. I have like live work, and something will move, and there was like, "Oh, that's a spirit." My coworkers know that I'm a medium, so it's a fun conversation. So.
Yeah, for sure. So you can use plants every day, like your people's herb gardens serve a purpose. Spiky plants are generally protection and deflect negative energy, and also kind of transmute it to happy energy. So that's why a lot of people are attracted to succulents. A lot of people are attracted to like herbs and stuff like that. And then the kitchen witchery stuff is super practical. It's like you would even call it practical witchcraft. Anybody can do it. Nobody would know that you're doing it. So our next question is, can one sensitive sense another? I think that to me, like there's a draw to those sorts of people. Like I just want to talk to them more, because that's how I kind of like when I met Nikki, and I lied. And when I met earlier, when I say Nikki's the only one I met in person, I thought I meant like initially, but I did meet Crystal in person eventually. But
I was like, "What are you talking about? We met."
No, I meant like initially. I was like, I probably should clarify on that. Yeah. So Nikki was like, I just loved her energy. And Artemis, what's your sign?
Gemini. Yeah.
Why do I have all these Gemini and Pisces in my life? Nikki's a Pisces. For some reason, maybe it's because I have a Gemini moon. I love Geminis, but then I love Pisces because they're so like opposite. Like I think that Pisces is a water sign and Gemini is an air sign. And I think that you need that balance in your life. And if you don't, I'm Aquarius, sun sign, so air. I need that wateriness because Geminis can tend to kind of like brush things off, and air signs kind of like, they don't really like, sometimes people say like they never take anything seriously, but I think I'm just drawn to.
Or I've read like that they're kind of like airheads, but I don't feel like they're too not airheads, but they've used the term airheads, but more in the sense like
you mean Gemini?
Like yeah, Geminis. Yeah. No. Well, yeah, but
yeah, no. Yeah. So,
but the good and the bad, yeah.
I have my sign, my rising and my sun signs, both in Gemini. My moon is in Sagittarius. So I'm never really content of a lot of things. I'm like a go-getter, but I'm also kind of, I flip. My husband doesn't know when I'm coming or going.
Yeah, my boyfriend is just kind of like go with the flow at this point. Yeah. Really.
So, he never really knows what is happening. And I was like, good or the bad, it's the best of both worlds. So no, I totally understand with the whole Gemini thing. And Pricilla has to bring me down, especially when I do magic, because she's like, don't get too hot. Like,
well, she goes into like that, like, so like every Gemini is like, I don't want to say bipolar because that's horrible to say that about somebody that's not, but they have like their little angel and little devil side. And
they really do have like the good and the bad.
There's no stopping them. Like there's no stopping it. And when they're happy, it's just like, and I always joke, I'm like, are you Geminiing right now? Because she would call me like elated. And I'm like, oh, she's Geminiing. She's Gemini.
I think Geminis just have like heightened senses of all feelings, you know. It's just like when we're happy, we're happy. When we're sad, we're really sad. angry, we're angry.
No,
Everybody put
But
everybody
like,
put the sign in the
it's just we're
comments, please.
feeling our feelings like very deeply. I'm a Gemini.
I cut out people like.
So I
like
guess
they're
the
nothing.
answer is yes. I think that people sense one another because we all have this thing where we're at least empaths, at the very least, and it's empaths, it's just all about finding like how you channel. Because to me, like any gift that you're using, you're a channel, and that is your medium, which is, probably where the term medium came from. They channel energy through themselves. They are the medium. But other people have other mediums. Like some people read crystals, some people read cards, some people read bowls of water by the full moon. So there's so many different things. So yes, I do think, in short, one sensitive can sense another because there's that. You're just drawn to each other for some reason, and when you meet another sensitive person that there's something about them that you don't want to miss out on. And it could even be online, because I sense that with Crystal, I sense that with Artemis, and I sense that with Nikki, even though we weren't really open about our spiritual journeys at the time.
And now our babies are close together, so.
True.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
So my children are 17 months apart. Right. So my oldest is 3, my youngest, she turns 4 in December. My youngest one is 2, and our youngest son is about a month apart, Pricilla?
Yeah.
It's a month apart, and our birth stories are almost identical. So it's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's super weird. People, sometimes it got to the point when we were teaching classes, like they would be like, "Oh, well, I thought that was you on last night." Or vice versa. It's kind of funny. And it's weird because anytime I say my name, people think I say Crystal. It's super weird, the relationships you build with people energetically. But Laura, the course that Nikki took was Monica the Medium's course.
Yeah.
I just didn't want the question to be like hanging there. Okay, this is a really good question. Is there any particular type of location where more spirits are found? The idea of ghosts in a graveyard, fact or fake?
Okay, so in the graveyard, I wouldn't say that's where a lot of spirits are found. I tend to visit my grandparents in the graveyard, because that's where I usually go home. But I love to watch spirits attend their own funerals. Of course, like during that time when it happens, I'm nosy. So I want to see like what they're doing. And I see like I remember one time I was visiting my grandmother, and I remember a couple of like distance away, there is a funeral happening, and they had like it's a Mexican funeral, and they had like mariachis and everything.
Oh.
And there was a man.
People lose their shit when the mariachi starts playing too.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So everybody's like super emotional, and I'm over here trying to have a conversation with my grandmother, and I'm just there, and I'm seeing the spirit, just like he's wearing kind of like a vest, an older man. And he's like walking around just seeing like who's crying and like who came, and he's just making his rounds. And I'm sitting down in the grass, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, please don't look at me. Like, don't look at me. I'm not here. Because once they know that I'm there, they tend to flock towards me. But I was like, don't look at me. So I was like this, but I was kind of like peeking. But yeah, I'd love to see them. They usually attend their funerals. But I don't think that that's where they're a lot like active. I tend to think that the most active places are kind of like old historical grounds. Like Pricilla, you and I went to that museum that was haunted, and I love going to places like that. Cemeteries. I don't know. I'm in between.
I feel like it depends on if they're attached to their actual body, right?
Yeah.
Because to me, like when your spirit leaves your body, it's just an old meat set at that point, right? Yeah. So I think that if they're attached to their physical body for some reason, that they might be there, but I don't think it's as many as people kind of, that's like a culture thing, right? I don't think it's as many as people think there are. What about you?
The reason I go to the cemetery is because I made this deal with my grandmother that I would always go visit her there, and that's usually that was our deal.
So she could meet you there, right? Theoretically.
Yeah.
So from what spirit has taught me, the spirit doesn't lay with the body like in the graveyard. That never happens, because as soon as we die, we transition. And I do believe that there are places where there tend to be more spirits, like Crystal said, haunted places or old buildings, whatever that may be. I personally have not visited anything like that yet since being a medium, just because it freaks me out a little bit, but I'm not opposed to it. So if we want to make some sort of girls trip to Salem or something, or some crazy place, that would
So
be
you're
really
saying I can use the spirit box with you?
safe with you guys. Because, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I definitely feel, like as soon as we cross over, we're whole, and they don't necessarily, they're not separate from us. So they can be with us at any time, at any given place. So just from what Spirit has taught me.
So this is super interesting. Benji, I have not heard about Marilyn Monroe's experiences. Was she clairvoyant or anything like that? You'll have to message me about that. So, let's see. What else? Have you guys heard of that? Any experiences with Marilyn Monroe? All right. This next question says, "Where's my boy Josh?" He said it was going to be like teasing Artemis and like messing with her during the recording. So I think that's where she went. They are newly beloveds, so super cute. So Curious George has a lot of good questions tonight. They were talking about residual energy. I've heard of memories being recorded in locations. Is that what they mean? Yes, to me that's what they mean, because it's also like, so this is my understanding, guys, and I could be wrong. If I'm in a place and I see one doing the same thing over and over, that is the residual ghost energy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so and that you see a lot of that like in like the pacing guy that we saw in Poplar Grove. But he interacted though. So that's another differentiation, right? Residual energy won't really like interact like talking, right? But a spirit will.
He just had that like residual energy of still being upset that things haven't changed. So he was just like constantly in that loop.
Yeah. So they can interact with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just noticed some don't interact. It could be that you're seeing them and they haven't noticed that they're dead yet too, which is super strange. When you meet somebody, that's one of the few times that I have like kind of dabbled in the mediumship. My grandma was a medium, so I do have it, but I get super emotional because I feel what they're feeling emotionally. So there was one point where I was a spirit, because they'll come to you in your dreams. They'll come to you at nighttime if they see that you have a capability to channel. Everything that you touch leaves like this energetic filament. It's called a cord. So I could be like getting change from the lady at the gas station, and she touches my hand. If her deceased loved one wants to get through to me, they use that, because now we have like and it happens everywhere you go, everywhere you touch. It's kind of like entanglement if you think about it that way. So this one came to me, and it was like, it started at nighttime, and I noticed somebody kind of there, and then I kind of entertained it. I said, "You can visit me in my dreams because I'm tired, but I will talk to you." And I woke up just like freaked out because I had the dream, and he showed me like, like those old movies that flip through, like a what is that?
Or almost like a projector.
Yeah, projector. There we go. It was like that, but he was like showing me how his life flashed before his eyes, basically, if that makes sense. He showed me like meeting his wife, having his kids, getting married, major moments in his life, and it was bam, bam, bam. It was super fast. But then at the end, it showed me also like he wasn't ready to leave. And it's kind of weird when you get spirits like that, because you don't really know like who they belong to. So like not who they belong to, but you don't know their family members sometimes. So you just kind of have to help them, like Crystal was talking about the gateway. A lot of people have a guide. Some people call it a gateway guide, and that's your guide that helps you open the portal to the other side and guide them through. And that's what I learned with one mediumship course. And maybe people learn it different ways too, obviously. But it's just, it's insane that they make that, that tie to you and just pop up.
This has definitely happened to me before. Like when I first started opening up to my gifts, when I was actually taking my first course, I was on vacation, and there was somebody coming to fix the washer and dryer, and I had just passed him. Like I didn't interact with him. I literally just passed him, and I fell asleep that night. And I think I even told Pricilla about this, because I was like, what the heck is this? I've never had this experience before. And I went to bed that night, and in the middle of the night, somebody said Christopher, and I shot right up and I saw like a little boy within my mind's eye, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was like, is this a ghost or is this just like my imagination? I had no idea.
Right.
So like, explained to me that it was just, you know, like she said, like that entanglement or that.
Well, your field of your auric field, all your energetic fields, and we learned this in Reiki, and it's also in the Hands of Light book that we both read. Your field is like at least 5 feet out of you, and that's just one of them. You have many like layers of, you know, energy fields, I guess. And it's one of those things where like, so even if like your auras touch or your energetic fields touch, and that can cause the transference of energy and that tie, right? So it's just super weird. Like, you never think about that stuff, but that's kind of like when you walk up to somebody and you have a vibe about them, you're feeling that through that energetic field around you. So it's super crazy. And a lot of people have experienced that because people are like, well, I saw this guy. Even, you know, even Artemis's spirit could have been like that. So Curious George says, if spirits are continually transitioning, wouldn't the world be filled with billions of spirits? Is there any limit? Yes, I think that they are continuously around us in one way or another. Like if you could see the amount of spirits and spirit guides around you, you would be like super freaked out.
It's like the veil is like so thin.
It's everywhere. I feel like, to me, I've
yeah.
experienced, and maybe this is just how it's shown to me. Like, I experience it. Like, if I ask to be shown it, I literally know that like I'm surrounded by spirits in one way or another, whether it be my own spirit team or just noticing like the veil or the dimensions are kind of thin at times, or maybe I'm more tapped in at times. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I don't think there's any limit. But then you kind of get to the question, like, how many souls started and how many like maybe are reincarnating? I don't really know. What do you guys think?
I definitely don't feel like there's a limit also, because I've also heard that the universe just keeps expanding. Like, it's not stuck in its, like, I don't even know what the universe would look like, but I've heard that it just keeps expanding. So if you think about that and how many planets that are being created and new life that's being created, obviously, I don't think there's any sort of limit.
What about you, Crystal? You think that there's a limit, or, you know?
No, I don't think that there's a limit. I remember one time I was like, how many people are in this room? And I didn't I didn't see it, but I just started hearing everybody talk all at once. And I was like, okay, enough. It was just intense. And I was like, okay, there's way too many people in this room. So I was like, yeah, leave me alone.
Everybody has these gifts too. Like, if they allow themselves to actually open and not just like be like, yeah, show me yourself. You know, like they mean it. And with their energy and their mind and everything, it's kind of like they will show you. And so, you know, you can ask that tonight, Curious George, and see how many are around you. So, and you're living up to your name tonight, Curious George. So what do you guys think about reincarnation, and what is the oldest spirit you've come across? I assume spirits would move into the new body. We'll start with Artemis. Artemis, what do you think about reincarnation?
I mean, I don't think we can rule anything out. I think reincarnation, I don't know a lot about it, to be sorry,
Josh, cut it out.
I know.
I'm gonna throw my sandal at you through the fucking screen.
Yeah, you should. He's watching it live as well. Anyway, he's bugging me.
Oh, Crystal, I thought you were eating the chocolate for a second.
Wait, what? Eating the chocolate?
Okay, so chunkla. So like.
Oh, chunkla. What's that?
It's a Mexican name for a sandal, or Spanish name for like you know, like there's like a joke around like Hispanic people, and it's kind of gone mainstream, but maybe not in Canada yet.
Hasn't reached north
like, it's
enough.
called the chancla, because Mexican moms or Hispanic moms tend to beat with the chancla. And
see, with Greeks, it's the wooden spoon. So.
Oh, okay, see, so yeah.
Every culture has its own thing. Yeah, it'd always be like the threat with like the wooden spoon. Yeah.
It's abuse if you do it more than 3 times, Artemis. I'm just reminding you.
Girl, that's not me.
I'm just kidding.
That's not my style.
I was talking about your kids.
No, just kidding.
Okay, so Crystal, what do you guys think about reincarnation and the oldest spirit you've come across? Yes, it happens. Yes, you've been reincarnated in most cases. There's a very small amount of people that have not been reincarnated, and I'd like to meet more. Spirits move on to the new body. Not right away. There's kind of like a period. It's almost like a negotiation thing. When you pass, you basically write your own record and your own contract. So you're kind of negotiating with your Akashic guides to write your next life, if you even want to go there. So what do you guys think about all that? And the oldest spirit I've met is actually a reincarnated spirit. I think it's Nikki. I'm not even joking. I think that Nikki is like she's in a body, obviously, but I feel like Nikki is like a super old soul. We think, right, for the most part. But I think the oldest I've met on the outside is probably like, I got this dream catcher from a Native American gentleman. He passed away. He was showing me his lifetimes, and I think that he was super ancient. Like, he was waking me up to teach me stuff. Like, and it was insane. It's because he made me like a legitimate dream catcher. It was sort of acting as a portal for him, because he wasn't a bad spirit. He didn't get caught. He just came to teach me stuff. And I was like, he would tell me something about some stones, actually, and he would show me how to align these stones to do energy work. And I was just like, and then it'd be like, okay, wake up and write it down. And so I think he's the oldest disembodied spirit. All right, Crystal, you want to go next?
I don't know what oldest spirit I've met, because I feel like I don't know. But I do believe in reincarnation. I've always been reincarnated, but this is the first life where I've actually had children. Typically, I always died before I had children, because they found out that I was a witch. My husband and I are soulmates, and we constantly meet each other every life. But now we are married and we have children. So it's definitely a new journey. Next life, I hope to be having a maid and like, right?
Yeah, you're like, can I like
an old rich
dream up
lady
some
cat
like
next
more
life.
money and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
A
yeah,
posh
like
life.
I think my next life, I think I can garner some, like, become royalty and have like a bunch of nannies for the kids. That'd be great, because I want to sleep through the night at least once.
Yeah,
It'll happen. It'll
it's
happen
like
one day.
the burden of that
One
is
day.
we all have the karmic debt that we have to kind of like
Oh my God, Pricilla,
settle up
stop.
on. You hate this. You hate this.
Always do that. You always do that.
You told me, like, I mean, I told it's true though. Like, you have these lessons, and you can actually research your last life on your natal chart, which is your astrology chart. The
I learned my
nodes, the
lesson,
north
but
and
I'm
south
supposed to do
nodes.
my lesson, and I'm not doing it, so I got to figure it out in my next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, if you like hate, like, this, it's super weird. Like, okay, so like, there's soul groups, right? There's these things called soul groups, and we've all kind of been together one lifetime or another. So we all come back at the same time and meet each other in waking life, and 3D realm, like this earth. And it's nuts, because that also applies to people that you kind of like. They kind of like press your buttons. You don't really like them. Something's off about the energy with them. You guys don't mesh well. They are also here to help you settle up some debt. And it's kind of funny to think about, but if you don't settle it up with them this time, if you come back next time, they might be like closer to you. Like, you might give birth to this person next time.
And I know you're doing this because you're trying to teach me a lesson of something I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not.
Oh yeah, I haven't nagged her about it in a long time, but you just reminded me, and I tell other people this. You're not the only one.
Do you tell Nikki that? Do you tell Nikki that? I highly doubt that.
Well,
Yeah.
let's just say Nikki isn't a Gemini. All right, Nikki, your turn.
So I
Now
definitely
that Crystal sent me like flipping off birds in the private message, I'm just kidding.
Where's my sandal?
I'm gonna get spanked now. But no joke, when I first met Crystal and we started being like really good friends, I found these amethyst sandals, and I was gonna send her one as friendship necklaces. All right, seriously though, Nikki.
Yes.
What do you think about reincarnation, and what is the oldest spirit you've come across?
So, I don't know. I've never asked a spirit like how many lives that they've lived, but I do know that all of the spirit guides that I have, they've mastered this realm. specifically Earth. That's how they're able to help me with this life journeys, because they've already mastered it. And how many lifetimes that takes, I have no idea. But for me, I feel like I've been reincarnated. Like, I feel like I've had 1,300 lives. No joke. And not necessarily just in this realm. Like, I feel in different other realms and dimensions and lower dimensions even. And I'm being honest, I don't feel like we've all lived lives of light. I feel like in order to go through the light, you have to understand what darkness is. So I definitely feel like I've lived in the lower 3D and 2D and 1D and all of that. So I definitely believe I definitely believe in reincarnation. And I've heard of souls who have lived like hundreds and thousands of lives. That's quite a bit of lives. But and if you think about, the other galaxies that exist within, the universe, I mean, it makes sense. And I feel like I'm just somebody who likes to reincarnate, honestly. I feel like I like this realm. That's probably why I've been. I like those. I don't know. I just feel like I am. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, sorry. This one's kind of funny. I'm gonna butcher this name. Is that Greek, Artemis? Oh, she's gone.
Yeah.
Pentonius. Sorry. You're gonna have to put the sounding out things in there. You don't ask them how old they are when you meet them.
Absolutely not. I ask them how they die. I ask them what their relationship is with their loved ones. I ask them what their personality was like, what their traits were. But I don't ask them I asked how old they were.
Way to go, Nikki.
Well, now I'm can add it. If one's just hanging out and you're not doing a session, of course.
It's funny on the chat. Somebody said I look like Aubrey Plaza. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I did that. That's awesome. Now that they mention it, absolutely. So somebody said I was an animalcule. Still are, Grandmaster. Question: is it possible to sense anything about a person online? Absolutely. That's how I met everybody in this little circle, except for Nikki. Like, I didn't meet her online, but we reconnect. I think that our connection was stronger when we started kind of talking online. And you can kind of Crystal obviously has a skill of like people's body language and stuff and being able to read that because of her training. But I think it's possible. And I think you can
Of course it is.
I think you can send stage smoke online because we're in a quantum reality, guys. Like this stuff that you're touching it's really not touching. So I definitely believe you can project things, especially your own energetic field across, and look at Josh and Artemis met online. They sent something. Most romantic story in the world.
He literally moved before we met.
He's I love this woman. I'm moving from England to Canada to be with her. So if that's not sensing energy online, I don't know what is. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I can. Does he mean like sense like someone's deceased loved ones? Is that what he means?
Maybe. You can answer that. That's a great question too, if that's what he means.
Yeah, I do.
I think so.
And I their full name. But because I'm such a clairvoyant, like I have up on their loved ones. But that's just me. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely possible.
So we have another question. I was watching a video on spoon bending the other day. Any of you ever tried it? I've never tried it, but I had like a really weird ex that just did it out of nowhere. Like we were all drunk at a Denny's and he just like picked up this spoon and it was like, and then I saw a couple guys do it in Las Vegas. Oh, there we go. Neil nailed it. There is no spoon. There we go.
There is no spoon. Yeah.
Leave it to Neil. Have you guys tried to bend a spoon?
So I haven't tried to bend a spoon, but I am working a silent. Basically, you're trying to move this little piece of paper with.
That comment.
Wait, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That comment.
Sorry, somebody made a funny comment. Were you moving that without touching it?
No, it's because.
Okay, I was like.
Yeah, but basically.
Nikki's a witch.
Well, like she was showing me these people doing like cutting down some flames with their fingers, and I was only
Oh
able
my
to do
God, I
it
did
once.
that the other day, Nikki. I was getting this close to texting you. Yeah, because I was burning incense and then I was like, oh, I want to be Nikki. And so the kids right before work and I was just like
Oh, hey,
doing it.
Lou.
And I felt so powerful. I almost text you.
You should have.
Okay. Yeah, so I did it one time and it did what yours did. And I was in the bathroom. I'm like, please let me do this. I swear I won't show anybody. And I had the Palo Santo and I smushed it and it did the hovery thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn it, nobody's here to fucking see it. Nobody's gonna believe me now. But yes, I think we've all tried weird things. Josh, stop sucking on that vape. He's back there going,
No, no.
he's like hacking it up. Okay, so this is an interesting one. And Carolina's super awesome, by the way. I mean, you're all awesome, but I've been talking to her kind of like behind the scenes, and we had like a late night phone call. It was really nice. It was a clear night. I'm just kidding. So are you picking up on anyone's loved ones right now? Now, she can answer that because Crystal has for me during a live before. Remember?
Yeah, but I wasn't drinking.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so drinking turns it off. Like, I mean, not all, like sometimes like it opens you up because you're shutting off your ego, but once you're past a certain point, then I think that it lowers your vibration and you can't tap in as readily. But like, I could tell you, like, one of my party tricks is to read people's energies when I've been drinking. I don't drink a lot anymore. But I remember, like, I've made grown-ass men cry, like just being drunk and be like, oh, let me guess, maybe I'm just like a profiler secretly. But yeah, like you can read, like, I think that I was so self-conscious and like kind of having like the imposter syndrome. So I think that when I'd have alcohol, it would kind of like shut my ego off and I'd open up more, but it doesn't always work that way. And most times it doesn't. So
Nikki.
Nikki, are you sensing any loved ones?
Yeah, I did in the very beginning. I actually wrote it down. There was like a really strong female and she felt really older. And then there was like a really strong male. He felt like a father figure and I wasn't exactly sure who it was for. But yeah, I definitely am picking. It could be any one of yours or like somebody in the chat, because we're all together. We're all communicating and exchanging energy. So that's kind of how that happens. But that definitely was, I definitely was picking up in two specific souls.
My dad's been around. I will say that. So for those of you that don't know, my dad has been deceased for a long time. But him and my grandpa have been visiting like a lot. So I'm not going to claim it, but it could be me. Somebody had a question about a Ouija board, and I can't find it. But so Ouija boards kind of have a bad rap, right? Like, don't use it, or you're going to open up the gates of hell unless you take it by. I think that if you cast a circle and you know what you're doing, it's no different than using tarot or pendulum or runes or anything that you're kind of channeling. If you know how to protect yourself and define the space and set the intention. Do you know what I mean? What do you guys think about Ouija boards? Have you ever used one, or you're not into it because of all the folklore?
I used one in college. That I hadn't used one since. Okay, to clarify, I used one in college, but I used it with 3 other girls that were just like, oh my God, I'm scared, and it didn't really. Yeah. So I haven't used one since. Now I just I don't have time to be like like I can't do that. So I use my tarot and I use my pendulum. That's my go-to. Because I swear to you, I don't have time to be like, okay, that's W. And then by the time we finish the letters, I'd be like, what the hell was just said? And I'd be like, was that an E? And yeah, so I don't do tarot. I don't do Ouija because no.
I would do it with you guys because I think
with me, if only somebody was able to write shit down, because that's not going to be me. I have too much like ADHD. I will forget.
Well, the thing is, like, once you tap in, sometimes like you're not prepared for so many people, and that's why that's one of the reasons I don't like tapping in, because I feel like I was telling Nikki, I was like, I really want, like, I need you to mentor me because I want to do it, but I feel like it's not a controlled thing. Like a spirit shows up, they're like, what's up? Like it's not like I'm intentionally tapping in. I did for Amanda's class that one time, and I've done it for spirit guides and other beings, and it's not controlled for me. So I get what you're saying. You might maybe you do open up some crazy portal and they're just like, hey, I have a message all at once.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't do the Ouija board personally. That's just, I don't have time for that. Nikki.
No, I definitely don't. And I think it's just fear. I was always taught, I did mess with a Ouija board once when I was a kid. And it brought up death and it freaked me out. So I always taught that, no, that it opens doors to the lower dimensionals. And so I just had never done it since. And I don't like, it's kind of like what Crystal said, like I don't necessarily need the Ouija board to connect to spirit. Like I can just easily hear them or see them or feel them, or they can just download information to me, whatever. So yeah, I don't mess with Ouija boards, but yeah, maybe one day when we all get.
Absolutely. Well, one of us can hold the circle. Crystal can just
sleepover
yell out
with
random
Ouija
letters,
boards.
and someone will write them down.
Yeah.
Artemis, have you ever messed with the Ouija board?
I actually have. I don't know who gave me one. Like when
There's
I was
a really cute pink one. I'm just saying, like you can order a pink one.
I know
It's like
anything
my
pink
first Ouija
will
board.
get me. Unfortunately, I'm very very stereotypical.
Yeah, so like some people
no,
don't
but
read. I think
I
you do
actually,
it right.
yeah, I don't know how I got one, but I did. I remember when I was like 12 or 13, like me and my girlfriend, like at the time, well, friend, that's girl. At the time, I mean, anyway. I don't know why I had to clarify that. Anyway, we were just we were in like my basement, which is kind of a creepy basement, I guess. Like it is an older house, or it was an older house. And we were messing around with a Ouija board. It started moving. I don't remember what it said at all, like or anything. But I almost like we both claimed that neither of us had done it. Like it was only me and her. But like I knew for sure I didn't move it, at least intentionally. I want to believe that she didn't, but at the same time, you don't really know. And I don't know. That was really the only time I ever messed around with it, like probably a few times with her. Like I think she also had a Ouija board too. But we also didn't really know what we were doing. I don't know if anybody does if you're doing it at like 13 or 14.
Yeah, I feel like I would know now,
or 12, 13.
but I definitely
so,
didn't know
was
like as
pretty
a child
young.
when you're messing with it, or you have older cousins
Yeah.
messing with it, slumber
I
parties,
was really
whatever.
young. But I mean, I always thought it was like really interesting, and like I remember watching the movie Now and Then. I don't know if you guys ever saw that, but
Is it a chick flick?
it's so good.
God,
It's like,
Is it, first of all, is it a chick flick?
Yeah,
it's not.
Oh
It's,
no,
well, it is a chick flick, but
my
it's
husband's
like
a chick flick guy.
it's like a
That-
kid. It's
It's
like a kid's kind of.
He's probably seen it.
I would say it's not a chick flick. It's more like a wholesome.
It's a chick flick.
Oh.
It is. It's more of a chick flick for sure.
New
But
poll,
it's just like
guys.
a younger chick flick. It's not like.
It's more coming of age and like it's so.
Yeah,
good.
that's
I
why
love
I'm
it.
like it's like an innocent chick flick because it's like they do have like a first kiss, but it's literally like a first kiss. Like this one girl, she's like taping her boobs because she doesn't want to go through puberty. Like, I mean, it's like really coming of age. It's not like
coming of age tale. There we go.
it's really cute though. But anyway, in the movie, like there's like this woman. She's a tarot reader. She's like kind of like like this like like outsider of this like small town. But I actually found her so fascinating because like I never really like, especially Greek people, I don't know why, but like they like, or I shouldn't stereotype like with all Greek people, but in my family, like they would tell me that like Greek people don't really believe in like fortune tellers or like tarot readers, all that stuff, like it's all like, just stay away from that and whatever.
That's crazy. Because one of my
yeah, but I mean, like, is that not normal? Like, I mean, my dad is like such an old, like, not old, but I mean, like, he's very old-fashioned Greek. Like, he's from Greece. So I mean, it's not surprising, but it is kind of like, of course, you would wish that they were.
Well, some of the best magic comes from Greece. I took like in my pre-assisting class.
Really?
I took like it was like we did like a section on Greek magic, and she was Greek. So
really,
yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, but you have to kind of dig for it, right? Like her dad was like, like this kind of is a good segue to the next question. Does the ability run in families, and on what side? Like this particular female I was learning from, it was like gifted down from her maternal line, which I've noticed is like, it's mostly that's where it mostly comes from. I've noticed because your maternal energy is more intuitive. I would say they're more in tap with things like the spirit realm and energies and empathy and stuff like that. So Mine came from my grandma's side, and my great grandma used to do weird things too. So, what do you ladies think?
Yeah, I definitely got my gifts from my mom's side. My mom is also a clairvoyant, and she got it from her, who was also a clairvoyant, third generation. Um, so yeah, I definitely feel like it came from that side of the family. But my dad's side is really spiritual. They're just not really in tune with it like my mom and my grandmother were.
Well, my side, I got it from both. My biological father, mom's side was the dark magic. I discovered that every time I go home, my mom tells me again. And then my grandmother's side, believe it or not, my great grandfather was a witch hunter in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I discovered that. But my grandmother was very spiritual. She always did these weird things, and my grandfather was like, "Okay, you're doing this weird stuff," and he just like he was like, "Okay." But I also discovered that my grandfather's first wife was a witch, but she wasn't a very nice witch. She died of gangrene. My mom was telling me that she wanted to talk to like a pastor, and her sons were like, "No, you're not a religious person." So they denied her request, and she ended up dying. And I was like, "Why would you deny an evil witch's request to talk to a priest?" Like, so yeah, they're in for some fun. But yeah, like all my gifts, like my craft and my spiritual mediumship and everything else, stems from deep Mexico and Spain, and from both sides of family.
Yeah, I had a message like from my father that he was kind of involved in some more like of our Native American traditions, like that magic. So I guess you could call it magic or spirituality, but I haven't really experienced that because I feel like I would have to channel my dad to ask him, and I don't want to channel somebody else on accident because I'm not refined in the skill. This is a good question too, and we're kind of coming up. So if you guys have to go, I understand that too. You want to do a couple more questions before we call it?
Yeah, I'll do a couple more. I need to get back to the husband.
Okay. So this one's fun. Have you sensed the spirits of animals? Can you talk to your lost pet? Oh, this is a couple questions. And what is the lowest life form that can have a spirit?
Ooh.
I sensed the dental assistant's dog. I saw a dog, and I was like, "Do you have a dog?" That's fast. So that my cat, obviously. I can't like talk. I haven't tried to talk to my lost pets because like the last one that passed was like, I don't want to think about him being gone yet. So, and then the lowest life form that can have a spirit. You mean like the smallest life form? Like, can an amoeba have a spirit? They definitely have like energetic things. I think they can because maybe that's how you came back this time. But ladies, what do you think?
So I definitely have, this spirit of animals. My first time that I had ever done that was on accident, giving this reading to a couple, and I was channeling one of her friends, and this lady was like not crying at all. She was kind of like one of those, she wasn't a skeptic, but she was not very upfront with her emotions. And I was like bringing through all these beautiful things, and then all of a sudden I saw this like golden retriever, and I'm like, a golden retriever that passed. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, yes I did." And the dog showed me where her body was buried, and showed me that there was like a stone on top of the grave. And as soon as I said that, she started bawling, and I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna cry for your dog?" It's like, people have those connections to their animals just as much as their loved ones. And so I'm not super experienced because they do communicate a little bit differently, and maybe it's just because I don't have enough experience, but I do notice that they do communicate a little bit differently than regular spirits. And as far as the lowest life form have a spirit, I'm not even I definitely feel that everything has spirit, even trees, plants.
Yes, definitely.
So how I sense spirits of animals. Yeah, actually one of my clients booked a reading with me to channel her dog who had suddenly passed, and then it helped her close a lot of it helped her understand the situation, that it wasn't her fault. It was just the way that the dog's journey took. I always sense animals. My spirit guide, actually, my lifelong guide, my first guide, is actually, he comes in as an animal. So that was my first introduction to that. I am always so, I guess, like, I can talk to my pets that have passed. Typically, I see them mostly at my mom's house. But Land Shark, my dog, I feel like he's almost there. He's acting very different, and I
Oh,
feel that like it's coming. But I'm in denial about it, so I know that it's coming. I just refuse to acknowledge it.
yes, yes.
But I know that it's coming. So I can sense that, and it's also very heartbreaking, as Priscilla, you know,
Yeah,
because Land Shark is my baby, my first baby.
yeah.
And the lowest life form can have spirit. Yeah, I feel like trees have them. You touch a tree, you can feel the vibration of the tree itself. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you for joining us, Neil. And before Neil leaves, he says that his ex, her mom had the gift, and she changed his life. So that's very cool. And then Curious George says, nobody talks about the spirits of ants. And what about a pet fish? I have heard of mediums talking about fish. It sounds kind of funny. And ants. I think there's actually some spirit totems that are ants. So yes. And they kind of, I think there's like a cave, and actually people think it's extraterrestrial, but it looks like an ant, but people think it's extraterrestrial because there are extraterrestrial races that tend to look like ants or mantises. Is it mantis or mantises? I don't really know. Mantisae. Just kidding. So it looks like people are kind of slowing down the questions, and it's been about an hour and a half. I know Crystal has to go. And I think that it's a good time to say goodbye to everybody. So thank you, everybody who joined in the feed. And you can find Artemis. I have everybody's, handles, either Instagram or Twitter, in the, the description. So if you guys want to tell everybody where they can find you, and maybe like request your services if they want it, you can go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, so if you have unsolved criminal cases that you want me to take a peek at, it can be a news article. Contact me. Again, I'm a criminologist. My specialty is in human behavior, serial killers, and all of that stuff. My Instagram handle is the best way to get in contact with me. You can find me at the Visitation Podcast. And if you want to check out my podcast, it is the Visitation Podcast with Corl, the criminologist. Yeah, so
I'll put it all in the story too. I'll put everybody's handles in the story.
Also, yeah, I do mediumship readings. I do 30 minutes and 1 hour readings. I can do small group readings, like 2, maybe 3. And if you want to find me to schedule, you can find me on my IG at Spirit ESP and ET.
And I'll put that in a story right when I'm done, so I don't forget once we leave. But thank you again, everybody, for coming. This is a little bit different. We usually talk about UAP and then get silly after the drinks settle in. But yeah, I think this was good. It was very exciting to see Josh and Artemis together. And looks like we might have to have Curious George on if we want to do mediumship again, because he said he helped with one case of a kidnapped child in China. That's very interesting. You'll have to DM us and let us know about that. But yeah,
he's been on UCR too as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he's been on UCR. I want to say several times for sure.
I think once I see him, I'm gonna know. Like,
yeah, I know, right? Yeah. It's more like the face to the name.
Yeah, I just see like the names, and the pictures are so small. So yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So yeah, it looks like a lot of people like in the feed have really cool stories to tell too. So maybe we can do like another one where we have people just tell their stories and bring people in and out. So I think that would be fun. Thanks everybody for coming. I know, like I said, like I was saying before I got sidetracked, ADD. Like, I know it was different. So maybe you tuned in to see some UAP stuff, but my description of my show is it's mostly UAP, but everything else, paranormal, fringe. And I am a witch, and it's October, so I want to talk about some spirits. And I wanted to get these two lovely ladies on, and Artemis is always here on Ladies Night. So, you know, I just really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day. And I hope to see you soon. I'm sure I will. And I'll put their information in Instagram story. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.